All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's video. We are so excited about today's guest. We'll be bringing him on in a couple minutes. But as always, feel free to comment below and let us know where you're tuning in from. And we're so excited to have you here. And just to introduce ourselves again, my name is Jordan. And I'm Jillian, and we're the faces behind Loveleigh Loops. And we do hand lettering and calligraphy. We've been teaching online courses over the past few years. So there's a lot of you who have been in the group for a while since we started it in 2017, and some people who are new. So if you're new, thank you so much for joining the group. And we are so excited for this topic because many of you in our group have been requesting this for a very long time. And the topic that we're going to be talking about today is lettering and composition. So how do you turn your lettering into a beautiful work of art? And we thought that the absolute best person to bring in here and talk about this is the master of composition. And I'm going to bring him on screen now. His name is Stefan Kunz. And here he is. Hello.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Thank you so much for being here, Stefan.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, so pretty much everyone in the group already knows who you are, and even if they've never heard your name, they've probably seen your work on Instagram or Pinterest. You are truly an amazing artist, but for those of you who don't know, can you give us a brief background on who you are and what you do?
So, well, where do I start? My name is Stefan Kunz. I'm a hand lettering artist from Zurich, so that's where I live in beautiful Switzerland. I have switched my careers from banking to lettering, and it wasn't directly lettering, so I actually just finished doing a YouTube live stream about my whole transition into like my whole journey as an artist and how I thought from being a failed artist to actually transitioning into banking, kind of like pursuing money instead of the passion, and then going back into the creative industry, starting up again. And then for the last, I think, 4 or 5 years, started really to pursue lettering as a profession in 2017. That's when it really took off. And yeah, it's been a great journey ever since. Got the option and work or the opportunity to work with great brands such as Coca-Cola, Adobe, Bombay Sapphire, and many others. And just got this whole brand new office that you can see kind of behind me with 2 employees as well. So it's been a crazy journey so far.
That's amazing. So you have worked with some really awesome brands, which we think is amazing. Do you have any favorite lettering project that you've worked on, or any of the coolest project you've done?
Absolutely. Let me just go around. I just have that presentation on the other screen, and I can pull up some of my favorite work that I've created over time, which I'm probably best known for. So let me just get that on the screen. So here you can see like the chalk lettering pieces that I've created. One of the things that I love doing is kind of like integrating like my passion for photography, the Photoshop, and also just the humor. Like having something funny to look at is also really important. Like abs are great, but have you ever tried donuts? And behind this piece here is really funny because I actually went to Krispy Kreme donuts. I asked them for like, could I get a 12 dozen donuts, or even better, 100 donuts? And they were like, well, you got to call the hotline. It's like, really? Seriously? Do I really have to call the hotline? It's like, where will I ever get to by calling the hotline? And funnily enough, I just called the hotline, said what I wanted, and all the way through to the marketing director who was in charge for marketing. And I told them, like, I have an Instagram account, I have 400 plus thousand followers, and I'm about to do this piece, and do you guys want to give me donuts? And so they were like, yeah, like, how much do you want? Like, well, like 12 would be great, but you know what would be amazing? 100. And they're like, well, we can do 100. And so they just like called me again and was like, well, we can do 100. We still only have 60 in the store left right now, but you can have all of these. And so I got 60 donuts, and I realized, man, 60 donuts, even though it's a lot of donuts, it's not nearly enough to kind of like fill this whole picture inside. And so the picture that you can see like would have about 600, 700, 800 donuts in that frame. So that wasn't possible. Other things that I'm really known for is probably like drawing on objects, kind of like those shoes, like Converse shoes or Samsung. And also one of the things that I love doing is like mixing typography, lettering, and photos. So that's kind of where I started. And when I started like looking for, my company name was Typo X Photo. That's how you probably find me on Facebook. And yeah, just the integration between photography and typography was something that is still something that I would really love to do. And then also got the opportunity to get my work printed inside of a book, have a physical book that people can buy, creating tools that help lettering artists. So the lettering grid builder and the composition pre-composed grids are products that we've created together with my good friend Ian Barnard, who like we've collaborated on these products, and these are super popular tools among lettering artists and have helped tens of thousands of people actually. I think we've passed 25,000 in sales, 25,000 in customers who have bought the lettering grid builder.
I know a lot of people here in the group probably recognize it too, and probably a lot of
yes. So yeah, the whole course that I've created is actually based around like the same way I see letters and have created the letter builder. Like imagine like just that same idea, the structure, the breakdown of letters is actually how I teach the course. And cars, like with Ford, that was a really like a impromptu collaboration with Ford where we did like something for my for hitting 300,000 on Instagram. A huge, massive mural for Bombay Sapphire in Germany. That was like on a 4-store building. And of course, probably the pinnacle so far of my career was to have my lettering piece on New York Times Square, like iconic place to have your piece, plus with Coca-Cola. And that was actually, funnily enough, it was a huge shock for me to actually find out how we got there, because when they reached out to me, they were like super secretive of like, well, we just want you for a social campaign, like blah, 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 and super easy. And ended up like reading through the contract. And in the contract, I read like they wanted to use my piece or have the usage rights. So you always have like the whole clause about where they can use your piece. And it was open for anything. And so I realized, well, they could print my design on a Coke bottle. And not that I would have any problem with that. It was just like, you should pay more for that. But at the same time, I kind of asked them, I was like, hey, why did you leave that so up? And they were like, well, we didn't know it at the time, but we want to have your piece on the New York Times Square on the billboard. And I was like, oh, amazing. And that's kind of how I found out. It was more by pure accident than anything else. And so I'm just absolutely amazed that someone who has been self-taught, someone who thought they do not have what it takes to be an artist, somehow got to have their work on New York Times Square, and just so many amazing things have happened over the past few 4 or 5 years that I could have never imagined. And still excited of what is about to happen, and always see like one of my favorite talks, and the talk that I just did this afternoon was create art, not excuses, and kind of like overcoming excuses is kind of what you have to go through to learn that. And so it's been crazy.
So what are some of the main excuses that people have that they overcome?
So I count 6. Perfection is one. Perfection, we always struggle with perfection. We always have every artist is nodding, is like, yes, that is exactly right. Originality is also a big one. The problem with originality is usually you want to come up with something that no one else has done before. And by trying to do that, you usually will not try to do something at all. So kind of like, well, someone else has done that before, so I'm not going to even try. And it's kind of like, imagine if Amazon is like the only shop, like online store retailer. No, there are thousands of different ones, and they just became the biggest. But there's still room for others and room to grow. And even lettering artists, like it would be stupid if we said like, oh, there's so many lettering artists, I'm not even going to start, because that's not going to be original. So it's always like, no, bring your own flavor to it. Like for me, it's like my style is unique because I try to incorporate everything that I love into it. And you would see like Lauren Hom, my podcast co-host, she like she loves food, she loves colors. We're so different. Like my background is black and white, and I wear gray and so on. And we just like, we recently chatted together, and she's like super colorful. Her background is colorful, and we realized like there's a match for everyone. There's a specific niche for everyone, and so that's a great thing. The next excuse is uninspiredness. And so around inspiration, I talk a lot about inspiration because inspiration is a big deal when it comes to creativity. We usually feel like we're not inspired, we do not have what it takes. And so in my online course, the Ultimate Lettering online course, in the Building Letters 101 part, I talk about inspiration as one of the 4 creative steps that I have. And so inspiration is a big deal, but we make it also too big of a deal because we actually have it right in front of us. Everything is in front of us. We just have to actually open our eyes. And then number 4 is time. Time is a big excuse. Like, I don't have time. I can never have enough time to create. And instead of saying like, I don't have enough time, reverse engineer that and to say like, how much time do I actually have today? Use that to actually create. So it's kind of like, I only have 5 minutes, and what can I do in 5 minutes? I can draw a quote in 5 minutes. I know I can do that. But again, practice makes perfect. And every time you repeat that only 5 minutes, you can do something great. And then finally, it's talent. A lot of people will say like, well, I'm not talented enough. And they often confuse talent and skills, which I'm really sad about, because talent and skills is a big difference. A lot of people, they work on their skills and perfect their skills. And so they're really skilled at what they do. That makes it look easy, but people confuse it with talent, and they say like, I'm not talented enough. And it's kind of like, I wasn't born with that. It's like, no, you can learn that. You guys know that. You teach that. And you know, like lettering, anyone can learn lettering if they really apply themselves and they learn. And then the last excuse is resources. We always believe like, I don't have an iPad for drawing. I don't have the right brushes. I don't have the calligraphy pens and needles that I need to draw and do stuff. And so it's like, no, like you'll have everything you need. Like even if you're doing videography or photography, like you have a phone, you can take pictures with your phone. You don't need anything else. So these are all these excuses that are holding us back. But again, there's one excuse that is always good, and it's health. Like if you take care of your health first, make sure that you're fine, you're okay, you're well, so you sleep enough, you eat well, you exercise, and you also take breaks for your mental state of mind, and then you will always be in a good state. And so if you take care of that first, you'll be ready for everything else.
Yeah, I think, someone said, are you reading my mind? These are all excuses I think of. Yeah, I think everyone can agree with most of these excuses, and getting over them is really important.
And the part of that is also like, everyone who sees my work like thinks like, oh, I don't struggle with that. Like I'm the person who probably struggles with the most with all of these things, but it's hard to really overcome these over and over again. It gets easier, but still, like one of the things that I've trained to do over the past year is kind of like shower cold. So like I do the cowardly way is kind of like to go in the hot shower first, and then afterwards, like you turn the knob to cold, but kind of that same, like, you know, as soon as you turn it on, like the cold water will come and it will hit you and freeze you, but afterwards you'll feel great about it. But it's just that transition that hurts like hell. And so to get into that mode, like it costs you a lot. And so that's why I know kind of like, as soon as I get into the flow, as soon as I get into the creating part where I'm in the flow, it's getting easier. And so I still need to always overcome, turn the knob to cold and do that. And so kind of the same way you can see that picture as I still need to overcome these excuses myself every single day, every single time I create.
Yeah, there's so much more to lettering than just your skills or your talent. There's so much mindset that goes behind it, and the way that you approach your practice. I know that one thing that you talk about in your course is always trying one new thing. So each project you try one new technique or one new style. And so is that something that you said that has gotten you far to where you are today? Is if you never tried those new things, then you never would have experimented with them.
Absolutely. Like the 4-step creative process is, again, like the first step is inspiration. The second step is dissection. The third step is creating. And so these 3 alone, you can do something, but you'll not grow really far. Like kind of like you'd survive with those 3. And I in the course you'll hear me talk about, like, this is kind of like the digestive system. Like, inspiration is what you eat. Dissecting is kind of like your body using up all the nutrients, and then finally 3 is going to the toilet, like letting everything out. But that's kind of like the same thing. Like, you need to let it out somewhere, otherwise it will fill up somewhere or it won't be used. And if you don't dissect, like, the input and the output will be the same. So kind of like you copy something, you don't create something. So that's why you need to understand how something works. And I don't teach how you do serifs, how you do a specific like Art Nouveau style or some fancy other special script. No, what I teach you is kind of like how you can learn all these things yourself and how you can create your own styles afterwards. So that I don't even need to teach you that, but you actually learn the steps to do it yourself. It's kind of like teaching you all the steps to fish and create your own fishing route in all these steps, so that in the end, like, it doesn't matter what fishing technique you want to do, you understand how you get that fish and how you can eat it in the end. And that's my approach on teaching and how I want to teach. And yeah, so if one more step is the step of growth. Is like, if you want to grow, like, you need to eat more. If you want to get like bulkier, you need to eat more. And so that's why adding one more step is always kind of this try to do something else and try something. And that's kind of like the whole process of, like, it's okay to look stupid, it's okay to suck, because some pieces will look terrible, but some pieces will be extraordinary because you've tried something and you kind of know, like, you learn the connection of, like, this didn't look great, but this looks great, and let me try this, let me try add that. And I always have these elements. So the piece that I posted today, I actually usually are going for a flat image look. Let me see if I can just pull that up. And my camera turns off for a couple of seconds, so don't worry about that. Let me get the right setting here.
Yeah, everyone's saying they love all of your analogies that you're using. I agree. You have a really good way of connecting things, storytelling and telling visuals. Yeah.
Well, so imagine just the whole workshop is built exactly around that. Like, my goal is always to use these analogies and make it simple for everyone to understand. Like, cooking analogies are the ones that I use the most in the class, because like, you mix ingredients together, you create something, and you kind of like baking and all that is something that everyone understands and can work with. So for this piece, for example, I have 2 versions of that. I have this version here, and let me get out. And this was the version that I wanted to go for. And it looks all right. It's flat and it works with kind of the style. But I wanted to see, like, hey, what about like trying to add like 3D? And so I went back to that and added the 3D just to see what I could do and see, will it actually look better? And you can see, like, it already stands out a little bit more. You try out like adding the nice shadows and stuff like that. And then just get the whole thing to stand out. And so for me, it's always about trying something else. And I've never used 3D in one of those pieces. So if you look at this piece, for example, here, no 3D as well. It kind of looks like with the highlights and shadows and stuff, but the whole piece itself, like the whole lettering, is very simple. It's very easy. But again, it's all about trying out new things, going always the extra mile, and not necessarily adding like 5, 10, 20 more steps, but just like one more step, seeing like how far you can get.
Yeah, it just has such a different look to it. So can you maybe show us, so there's a lot of people who can do like the basic letters, but maybe they're looking for some ways to spice up their letters, like add something different, like you just showed how making it look more 3D dimensional. So could you show us just a couple of tips of how you can spice up your letters?
Absolutely. Okay, so let me see. Let's switch back here. Let me add myself over here. So the way I teach drawing letters, and I'll shortly go through that in the course as well, is it's kind of like the letter builder. If you think about this, it's always this 3x5 box, and you'll find that Instagram post as well on my Instagram page. So 3x5 is kind of like every letter pretty much fits in really well in here. And so if I want to draw an S, for example, I use kind of like these guidelines where I know like the crossbar here in the middle, where it will go, and I know kind of like the thickness of the whole letter will be. And so this is how I draw an S. So I got like all the lines that I need to do that. Now, again, if I wanted to draw an A, I just go around. I see like, all right, this is where it connects. And then there's some particular things that you'll learn about every single letter. For example, the A, if I just did like this, it wouldn't be completely right. So what I've learned over the time, again, it's like small lessons that you learn, but then it's super easy. It's like, all right, you'll make it a little bit wider. So you still take the same space up here. You just make it a tiny little bit wider. You go the same way over here, and you cross-sect that a tiny little bit. And so it's already a little bit spaced wider up here and down here. And then you add the crossbar here at the lower parts. And so whenever you fill that in, so if I would fill that in, it looks terrible if you do it fast. But it's only just to show kind of like how this technique works. That is kind of like one way. But so that's the easiest A you can do, because like the box grid is also very simple. But now you can switch up the box. So say like you can, for example, modify the width of the box, like making it a wide letter. Then you can say like, I want it narrow. So you switch up the lines inside here, but you still make it a 3x5 box, right? So for example, an N, I can just fill out here this side, and then I can just connect like, actually, let me put that into a new layer. So I fill this out here. I fill out here these two bars. These are already the ones that I know, but then I kind of like add the next one and done. And so this is kind of like an N, easily done. Now, let me do an S. Like an S would be kind of, again, the same way, like crossbar here, crossbar there, just connecting that. And you see like the S from the one before that I drew at the beginning looks already completely different. And you can keep going there, like saying, all right, let me do a very narrow letter. Like let's pull it all the way up, and let's add some contrast, meaning like the two bars here are very short, or the middle bar is very short, and kind of like adding these here. And then if I wanted to draw a B, for example, so let me just pull down the opacity on this. If I draw a B, I can go in here and draw like this B, and you can see like the contrast has completely changed. So already there's a big difference in the style of lettering. Now, I can actually then play around. Like if I know kind of where serifs are placed, so I know that serifs are usually placed here on a B, and so I can play around with that. I can switch it around, and as soon as I have these elements that I know of, then I can apply that to all the other letters as well, and play around with that too. So even like adding like elements to it, kind of like the inlines. I can add like a gradient. All these pieces, like this is where I go into kind of like how you can learn all the materials, the ingredients of a letter, and spice up your lettering, because you kind of like, you don't learn this exact B. You learn that this B is comprised of different elements. So you learn that like this is a contrast-rich B. It has like small gaps in between. The gaps up here are also very tight, and it has some just the gradient look here that is from the top down, and it's the serif. And so you kind of like memorize not the whole thing as a whole, but just like all these individual elements. And now my GoPro just turned off again.
It's so interesting to see your thought process, and also we love like the analytical side of lettering, and so the grid we just love it. You can change up the proportions and get a completely different look. Okay, so that was awesome talking about letters. So can we talk a little bit about composition, and maybe like what's the difference between what you teach in your letter building versus composition, and then maybe like a tip or two about composition for someone who's a complete beginner to composition.
All right, so let me see if I can fix this GoPro on top. Otherwise, we'll figure out something else to do.
So really quickly, there's a question in the comments asking if the class is, if it's a Procreate class or what tools you need. So it's
no, so it's all pen and paper. So I only use pen and paper in the workshop, like in the online course. the reason why I use a tablet here is just for me, it's easier to explain you all these steps on the sides. Otherwise, I would have to use like a massive brush and also use up a lot of piece of paper. But again, every technique that I teach in the course, it can be applied on the iPad as well, but it doesn't go specifically into like the settings on Procreate or anything like that. Like that would be a Procreate specific workshop that I would teach. But this workshop here is really, you can apply it on paper, you can use your brush pens, you can use any tools you like. Like I always tell my students who come to the in-person workshop, I told them always like bring your favorite pencils with you, because you're going to have the most fun using them. If you love using the iPad, you're going to have a lot of fun using the iPad for these workshops. But you really do not have to use anything special. Like you can use even rocks if you wanted to. That works too.
So for those of you who don't know, he has taught many, many students in his in-person workshops. He's been in LA and New York, and then I'm not sure where all in Europe you've taught, but he's taught these workshops, and then he made them available as online courses based on these workshops he's taught, so that you can take the course regardless of where you live if he's not doing a workshop in your city. So that's pretty neat. Yeah, that you can learn on your computer at your own house, watch the lessons as many times as you need. And it's just amazing that you've put this together for everyone to be able to take. Do you guys in the comments, let us know if you have any questions about the course that we've been talking about. We'll talk a little bit more at the end about how you can sign up for it. But any questions about composition or anything that you would want us to discuss in the live video. We'll just scroll through really quickly and see if there's any other questions that we've missed. Okay, so yeah, Amanda says, so amazing. He's broken down the steps into easily understandable, followable elements. Yeah, exactly. The course is broken down into the 4-step creative process that we were talking about before, because you can look at this beautiful end result, but not know how to get there. But when you have this path to follow and you have steps that you can recreate, it makes it so much less intimidating and more manageable. And one thing that Stefan is really good at doing is making you feel like you can do it yourself too.
Oh, it's because not only I make you feel like it, but I know that you guys can do it. Mm-hmm. That's the beautiful thing about it. All right. I think I got it back.
Awesome. Yay.
All right. So composition, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So let's see. Let's get me back in here and I can see you guys. Okay. So composition. So the thing about composition, actually, let me just grab quickly. I need to show you this because a lot of people won't believe me that I was scared of doing anything longer than 2 or 3 words. And I tell you, like 2016, you would see that in my work that I didn't actually try to do more than 2 or 3 words. So, so if you look at this, you can see like the most words I've used is just 1 or max 2. Baby, it's cold. It's like 3, but like the whole quote would be like, baby, it's cold outside. Mm-hmm. And I was just afraid of anything that was longer than 2 words, 2 or 3 words. I even tried to tell my clients to reduce the number of words. And I talk about that. Like I tell my whole story around composition. So I totally get anyone who's telling me, you know what, I'm afraid of composition. But again, I had to learn the right steps on how to do that and how to overcome these things. And this is why I feel like it's so important for me to teach you how you can actually achieve this, because it's right now, you can like give me a quote that I should letter and let's do it together.
Let's see. Well, one of our favorites, love what you do. Is that what you're going to say? Oh, that's only a couple of words. Only 4 words. So we always say, do what you love what you do. If that's too long.
So do what you love. No, it's perfect. Do what you love and love what you do. So the problem already that I see with this quote is that it's like the same, it's 4 to twice the same words. So it's like the exact same thing. And so I already know what I struggle with composition. So I know exactly when I look at quotes already which one I want to pick and which one I don't want to pick, because out of lettering is like using the same thing. But since I kind of like the post that I posted today is hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So you can see like they're also the exact same words over and over again. But the great thing about these things is like there's a beautiful symmetry in it. So you will have love and love together. So I'll add the N and here. And so kind of like start off, like sometimes I'll start off like by trying out just to see like, how can I put these here in a symmetry position? So that's kind of like symmetrical. And then see like, hey, can I like play around? So here the U, kind of like bounce that off. Then the what here, maybe this in a similar style, like I can, and I always think in shapes, right? Kind of like before, like the 5x3, like I still think in shapes, and I'll create these elements together, and I'll usually will stay first with all caps letters, and then sometimes we'll maybe see like, oh, here this would be perfect to kind of like have a do in a script style, and then the same thing over again on the other side. So love. What's like that, what you, and let's see if I can kind of like move that around, do. And so right now you see like that's a long stick. So I'm not sure if I want to have that long stick. I can maybe translate that differently. What I can also try to do is see, and that's kind of like, I know I have these techniques where like, oh, you see, one thing is that like it starts with a small word, ends with a small word. So one of the techniques that I've learned and is, for example, is kind of like do it all on slanted lines. And so you create kind of this ellipse. So that's kind of like your basic shape that you start off with. And so I reduce here just the shape and then kind of like do it all in layering. So do, so in script style, what, and then maybe we'll put that in one here, you love, kind of like that. And we'll see. Let's see if we can actually add the end. Love. What? Let's see. You do something like that. So you can see like it already starts to fit in there. And so the next step would kind of like go over it again and try to see, can I use all the spaces right? So where did I not use the space right? How can I kind of like go in and perfect all these spaces? Like here, right here, I can see that I'll have a lot of space. I can go in and loop that in here a lot better. Then with the do, see if I can get the angle right, play more with the with the ornaments, with the ligatures. And at some spaces I already started to do a great job, but I can actually do a lot better. For example, here I can perhaps go in between the A and so on and play around with it a lot better. And so here, maybe instead of doing a all caps letter, I can just go and write that out. And so it's kind of like a process of going back and forth over and over again. So this would be one version again, and there are like a ton of more versions that you can go through. But you see, I already have a process of starting from one to finish, and the easiest way is really to. I would recommend like saying like someone who would start off with that quote. Like if somebody my workshop came with that quote and said like I want to letter that, I'm like, go for it. It's going to be a lot trickier with this because you're having the same words and they're all short. But it's a challenge. And so I would usually say someone in the workshop, like try to come up with a lot of different variation in shapes. So kind of like build these shapes out, go through the process that I teach, like the 4 steps, like the note taking, thumbnailing, sketching, and so on. And because I teach it this way, I teach it that you start off with like, that's the note taking. Then that's like, pretty much that's between sketching and thumbnailing. But when you do all these steps individually, one after the other, you realize you're actually not going to spend too much time on any of them. And you learn how to reuse a lot of those contents to redo the same thing over and over again. And so that's kind of the important thing to learn that it's also a process that you have to go through over and over again. And after a while, you just will know kind of like, oh, I exactly know that how to fit love, you, and what into one sentence or into one letter. Like I can keep going and see like, oh, you know what, like what, you, and love, like love and what have 4 letters. Maybe the W makes it kind of like 4.5. And so there's all these little things that you'll learn that to add to your repertoire, to all these elements, so that you can fit that a lot better together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think a lot of people may not realize how many drafts you go through, and like you can see he didn't do it perfect on the first time. It takes some trial and error and some going through it. So if you did have, let's say you had a quote that had maybe longer words or a different quote, like how would you determine which words to emphasize? Someone asked that in the comments.
Oh, that is a great question. Hierarchy is a very important step into knowing, looking out for what is important in a good composition. And so I talk about that. We will go through like dissecting some of my personal work, where people, like, I called it in the in-person workshop, I called it the roast. And people love that part because they get to actually roast me. What they usually don't know is that I get to roast them afterwards. So it's a fair deal for everyone. But yeah, when you see my work, so this is kind of like one that I created, like this was an idea, but here, like throw kindness around like confetti. Like I won't go through all the steps. And so that confuses a lot of people, is they would always see like, but wait, you don't go through all the steps you're teaching. It's like, yeah, but some of those steps happen in my mind. Like after a while, you do not have to do that same thing over again. It's kind of like, I don't draw a 3x5 box for every letter I draw. I have that in my mind. I actually see it without actually having to put it down. And so my sketching for my work, sometimes I already have like one great idea, like strive for progress, not perfection. Like you see, like I have like 3 different composition ideas, well, basically 2, and I was already happy with this one, and so I took that one. Let me see if I can find some others. Here was like, if not now, then when, where I was really happy with this little 3D sketch here. I can actually bring that pretty much all to the top. What else? This one was insecurity kills more dreams. It's not the whole process of like going through a lot of iteration, but you should not be afraid at the beginning of going through all these iterations. Like the more you practice that over and over again, you will actually start to see, you'll actually know which words will fit together. Like even without actually having to draw the words or the quotes that you guys gave me, I already knew kind of where the struggle would be and how I would have to overcome that. And so I will go always through all of these different versions, and I don't have anything else here. But you see, like this is kind of where composition is tricky, but it's not impossible. And with the time, like you go through that over and over again, you'll learn so much, and you'll see all these elements like become a lot easier and be helpful in what you do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Someone in the comments said it's a totally new idea to think in shapes. I think a lot of people are learning a lot just in this video. So I think next we're just going to talk a little bit more about the details of your online course. Yeah. So do you want to share maybe like what are some of the key highlights of the course? So for me, the key highlights are definitely just one, you can learn on your own whenever you want to. So you can, it's like it's all pre-recorded. We've actually, since I've had the experience of teaching it 10 times to over 200 people, I've learned where people ask the same questions over and over again. And I hope that with all the things that I talk about, one is that I've actually had so much more experience in teaching it than other courses that I've actually put out. And so I know kind of like what I would expect as of questions, or where people would raise their arms like, oh, I don't get this part. So that's already a big plus. Then also just the way I teach. Again, a lot of people ask me like, how is this different from any other online course out there? And I tell them like,
I teach in a very different way. Like, again, my background from, again, banking, from like, I love business and I'm a total business freak. I love how to step up a business, how to create more. And I always think of efficient ways. I'm extremely lazy in whatever I do. And I always try to find like the most effective way in doing things. And so when it comes to my lettering, it's the same way. I try to be as effective as possible and still get results. And so kind of like the journal that I've created here, like when I started out, like my Bible journaling was kind of like this. You can barely see that. Let me see over here. As you can see, this is kind of where I started, right? There's like basically one different style on it. I didn't really try, like I tried out to add like different styles in here. But if you start to scroll through every single day, like every page represents pretty much a day gone by, and you start to see like more and more styles appear. And towards the end, I was like, all right, let me try to add as many styles as I can. And so this is one of the very first books that I created. But you can already see like there's so many different styles. And the reason why is like, it's not that I've learned to draw all these styles. Like one of those first questions a lot of people ask me is, how do you memorize all these different styles? And I'm like, there's something you don't get. Like, I don't memorize those styles. I couldn't. I'm lazy. Think of that always. Whenever you see me do something, always think, Stefan is lazy. How did he actually manage to find an efficient way to do that? And that's really the whole thing, is like always trying to find something efficient to do. And so that's pretty much the way I think. And that's the way I teach. And again, my goal is that at the end of the workshop, you could learn anything. Like you can even apply those 4 creative steps to photography, to cooking, to playing the piano, to any field that you want to apply that to. Like I've been applying that from photography. Like I've come from photography. I've done videography before that. I'm trying to do that in social media. In social media, it's the same thing. Like I try out the same thing. Again, super lazy, and I try to come up with the best, most efficient way to come up with ideas. And so that's what is different from my teaching. And again, I've had those struggles too. And so that's why I've had to overcome that through a lot of challenge, trials and errors. And when I teach that, it's also just because I want to help you guys not to have to face that. And instead of doing that for 3-4 years, imagine just having that in 1 course or 2 courses. You save a ton of money and a lot of time, which is a lot more valuable.
Giving us all of your secrets and all of your shortcuts. Yeah. So the course itself is actually the bundle of 2 courses, the one about building letters and then the composition. And then you're also giving some bonus courses, right? So can you talk about what those are?
Yeah, so during the shoot, we actually realized because I've had so much practice teaching the courses, like my flow was great. And at the end of the course, we were like, well, we still have time. What do we do? And so I was like, well, let's start recording like a 3D lettering bonus class and a ribbon lettering bonus class, because I know how much people love 3D. I know how much people love ribbon. And again, same principle there. Like I'm lazy, and I want to figure out the easiest way to draw 3D letters. And there are like a couple of different techniques that you need to learn. But as soon as you master those, boom, it's super easy. And you can learn to redo that, do it easily, and create your own style, your own flair. Ribbon, same thing. It looks super hard. But again, I always try, like, again, through this one step at a time, I've learned to actually teach myself how to do it. And I still can go a long way. But again, going through the same process over and over again, the process I teach you, you will learn how to do it yourself, but you also learn through my process that I've learned over the years on how to do ribbons and how to do them easily. Because again, if you picture that right and you can see those things, kind of like the Matrix. If anyone has watched the Matrix, they know like, oh, Neo can see the Matrix. He can see the numbers and he can see everything. So you can be that person in lettering that sees exactly behind the curtain and can understand all these elements.
Yeah, I saw a couple of people in the comments asking about illustrative elements. So sounds like ribbons and banners would be a really, those are like the special finishing touch on top of once you learn the basics of the letter forms and then how to put them together in the composition, then those shadows and embellishments are the final touch. So you have the 2 courses and the bonus lessons that all come together in the bundle, plus there's a discount, right? If you get all of it together, then you can save versus if you got everything separately. So for those of you who are interested in signing up, I did put the link in the comments. It's also in the description. We are affiliates for the course and we think it's amazing. We've gotten to take a look inside. So if you guys do decide to sign up, make sure you forward us your receipt, because we're also going to give you access to one of our courses about keeping of your work, just as a little fun bonus.
And as a also really, really fun bonus, we just sent out the email today, but we haven't really communicated that. But we are actually, from anyone who's enrolling into the online course until July 7th, will actually be eligible to enter to win a free pay trip to Switzerland. So I'm going to have someone actually fly out to Switzerland to visit me here at my studio. We're going to have a whole day together where we're just going to do whatever you want. Draw on the chalk wall, do something, do a private class, whatever you feel like it, we're gonna do that. And then you'll also have like a whole day where you can go through Switzerland, visit, like Switzerland is super small. So imagine like in a day, you could actually see pretty much the Alps and the seas and the mountains, all the beautiful scenery. So whatever you want to do on that day, that's it. That's prize number 1. Prize number 2 is an iPad with an Apple Pencil. And then prize 3 to 5 is going to be a coaching session, a one-on-one coaching session where I'm going to just help you wherever you are at right now, help you to get through whatever you're stuck or wherever you need help with, and help you share whatever you need so that you can, again, have a drive and be pumped.
People are going crazy. That is awesome. So when's the deadline for getting into that giveaway?
So July 7th. So just so the whole launch week is from Tuesday till Tuesday. So I wouldn't wait. I would go as fast as I can. Plus, because then you can start the course. But also, just it's going to be an exciting time, and I can't wait to see, like, invite someone who has learned already the course, who has been like, whoever decides to invest in themselves and like take the course is someone who like will learn something new. And the best part, like when we worked on the pricing for the course, we looked at like, all right, what is the investment that we've put into the course to make the course, and it was huge. I told you guys before, like we invested a lot into making the filming, shooting that like a really movie-like style, and then even having a really cool location to make that happen. And my picture is gone, but we're back in a second. And there we go. And then, so live workshops, we try to see like, all right, what money do we save on actually, I don't have to fly out anywhere. I don't have to rent a room or space. There's no food involved. There's no hotel costs involved. So like all of this money that I get to save, I've passed it on to everyone else. And just to make sure that for under $200, it's like $100 per course. It's the best price that we can do, plus the 10% discount that you get for the launch week, which is awesome too.
Yeah, amazing. You guys, like, it is so incredible that he's even put this course together and that he's offering it at such a great price, and it's so high quality. Yeah, definitely take advantage if you guys are interested in learning this. Yeah, there's lots of people in the comments saying, I just signed up. I'm going to sign up as soon as this is over. So that's awesome.
Amazing.
So were there any other comments that we missed? Lots of comments, a lot of excitement going on. So yes, you guys will get access. So is there a deadline for them to have to complete the course by?
Not at all. Again, the reason why we shot this course, and so even workshop attendees, before we actually put out the course and did the pre-launch, one of the things that was important for me is that like the quality of the course is working, that it's all working together. And so we had all our previous workshop attendees that came to our live workshop sign up for free. So we gave them free access because they've actually invested into this course before they even knew about it. And they all were like, so we had already like 40 completion of courses, like people that had already done the course, and they were so happy to redo the course because they said like, even though I learned all these things, like I relearned a lot of things, and those things again, I still use those same principles and I have to remind myself. And so it's always useful to go through it again. It's not one style that you learn and then you kind of know it, but it's kind of like a whole process and a creative process. So it never hurts to go through the course again. And you can press pause, you can play it at double speed. You'll have English subtitles, you have Spanish subtitles probably soon for the rest of the course as well. We're adding German and more. So it's gonna be full. You have like a whole workbook. You can do these exercises. Like you can stop at the exercise and repeat them. You can do it next week. Do it all in one day. Whatever speed you're like it's your own pace. That's a cool, fun thing about it is you can really, like if you have children and they're running around the house and you just like somebody just hit the other kid, you just like press pause and you're just like, I'm watching this course. I don't want you to be distracted right now. And then you can jump back in. So you can always take your time. You feel free. And yeah, it's a great experience.
Amazing. Sounds like it would be perfect for someone that is a complete beginner, or if you've had experience, if you go through it again, you'll learn something.
We've had both. We've had people in our workshop, like when I was in New York and LA, I've had both experienced designers. Like in LA, I had Chris Do from the future, who was there, and like he knows a lot about typography and stuff. But he said like, well, that's amazing. Like he broke it down in such simple, easy, understandable steps that it's following for everyone. That's easy to follow for everyone. And Huyen, who is also a great lettering artist, she was at the course twice and she helped me organize the whole thing. But she felt like, well, I've learned a lot of things there too. And we also had in London, we had someone who had never actually started lettering. They saw lettering. They never thought of like they could do that themselves, but they just enrolled into the course for the London workshop, and they attended. And at the end, I was amazed at what she was able to do and how far she has come. And so the ones who start off, who know already a lot, they've learned a lot, and they end up higher. But those who are beginning, who are starting out, they also learn a lot, and they just elevate their game so fast. And then you can repeat that over and over again.
Awesome. All right. So we'll put the link again in the comments. There's lots of details on that page. So definitely make sure you read through that page just to see if there's anything else that we haven't talked about today. But I think we've pretty much covered all of this. So I guess, is there any last parting advice or anything else you want our audience to know about you or your course, or anything about lettering?
No, so my goal with this course is always to help others like take their next step. Like one of the things that I've seen people stuck with is really stuck with brush lettering, or just like they love the brush so much and they cannot move on like to design like strong letters like the ones you see behind me that are designed kind of like graphic designers would design them. And so to take that step, it takes a lot of knowledge, a lot of also just courage to kind of evolve your step, to move away from something that you've grown accustomed to, and that can feel frustrating. And so one of the advice that I always give is like, it's okay to suck at the beginning, but the goal is to again try with one more step, adding towards, like every time I try to add something new, to experiment with something new, kind of like like I don't believe that I'm great with flourishing with like flowers and stuff like that, but again, by trial and error, I got to draw these type of things, and that doesn't come from just trying something out. Like it's experimenting with the style, it's experimenting to see what I love, and see. This is where I get so frustrated. Is like a lot of people will see something they love and they want to get there, but they don't know how to, and that's frustrating for everyone because people should see your potential unfold, and that's what makes me exciting. And so when I don't see that in people, that when I don't see them see their potential unfold, I'm frustrated. And so I want to see that, and that's why like the reason how I teach the course, how I want you to learn, and why I want you to enroll is mostly so that you can not be stuck anymore, that you can learn all these steps, that you are have all the tools necessary to grow, and again, not be afraid of composition. Because imagine if I would be afraid of composition still, and like I'm happy that I got to encourage so many people and inspire so many people through my Instagram account, and I would have never got to do that and inspire so many people, even if it's just one person. But for a community like that, if I didn't actually get over myself, try that. And I believe you can do that too if you're watching this. And that's why I believe this course is for you. And create something today, even if it sucks, is my favorite quote, which I always use. And so I hope that you can have the courage to create something today, even if it sucks, even if it's not perfect. And even if you don't take the course, keep creating. That's the goal.
Awesome. Love that advice. A lot of people are saying they're really excited to sign up for this course. So yeah, thank you again so much for joining us, for answering some questions.
My pleasure.
Sharing tips. And everyone, the link to sign up is in the description and in the comments. Make sure you sign up by July 7th if you want to be entered into that amazing.
And come here to Switzerland.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Hopefully, that would be so cool if someone from our group won. We can see all your pictures. But make sure you join by the 7th if you're interested in that, which why wouldn't you be? Anything else? No, I think that's it. Thank you again so much for being here. Thanks everyone for joining us and watching, and we will talk to you guys later. Bye everyone.